Hello, all of you. I can't see your faces, but I am honored by your attention, and I'm very pleased to be able to talk genealogy with you tonight. I manage Progeny Genealogy. We make a genealogy publishing program, and our job is to make you shine. Our job is to help you tell the story of your family. So I'm going to show you ways to publish your research so that you can impress and entertain or share it with your family and your friends. So we make Charting Companion, which is a program that's a companion program. It runs on Windows and the Mac. It is available, it operates, if you're a Family Tree Maker user, it operates as a Family Tree Maker plugin. It is launched directly from Family Tree Maker. If you use any of the other programs, Charting Companion will read the database directly. If you use Legacy or Ancestral Quest or PATH or Roots Magic, we read the database format directly. If you use Ancestry or MyHeritage or any other of the other online systems, you can download your data in the form of a GEDCOM, and Charting Companion will read the GEDCOM. So our output is big charts. You can make small charts and big charts. You can print your genealogy chart at home on your own printer through a process called tiling. We break the chart up into many individual pages, which you can assemble in rows and columns and put it together, and you can make a humongous chart using nothing but your little 8.5 by 11 printer. Or you can save your chart to a PDF. You can save it as a PDF, write it to a thumb drive or a flash drive, take it to your local print shop like Staples, and print it on a single sheet of large paper on one of these large plotters. And you'll be the hit of your family reunion. So I'm going to show you a variety of different charts that you can do with Charting Companion, and then I'll talk about some DNA charts. This here, for example, is an ancestor chart featuring my grandmother, about whom we will hear more later. It's got a unique option. We can include the siblings at every generation, not just the first generation, but at every generation. So here's my grandfather married Connie, her father and her uncles and aunts, her brothers and sisters, and her mother and her uncles and aunts on the other side. It's very interesting because in some cultures, you can see how the names are propagated from generation to generation. Jewish cultures do this, I think, as well. So it's an interesting way, gives you a more comprehensive view of the family. Of course, we do the Ancestor Fan Chart. This is a circular fan chart that would be you at the center, your 2 parents, your 4 grandparents, your 8 great-grandparents, and so on. These charts can go up to 36 inches or more in diameter. That's on a fan chart, that's 12 generations. Charting Companion can go up to 160 generations. The charts can be saved as a PDF or an image, a JPEG, and you can take it to the print shop, as I indicated, or you can include it in a book that you're publishing. You'll notice these narrow bands of color here. Those of you who use Family Tree Maker, those are Family Tree Maker colors. We also do it for Roots Magic colors. So if you use the coloring feature for a certain special reason, like cause of death or profession or place of origin, you have the option of displaying those colors on the chart. It's really cool. Here's another chart with a gradient effect. We take a lot of care to space the typeface, and they're automatically sized. So the short names will print as large as fits in the slice in the sector, and the occasional long name, we automatically scale it back so that it fits. Now, most genealogy programs can do ancestor charts. Charting Companion is the only program that can do a descendant fan chart. Now, the way this works is at the center would be your ancestor, grandparents, great-grandparents. In this case, they are my grandparents. The next ring is my uncles and aunts and my parents. The next ring is my cousins and I. The next ring is our siblings, my children and nieces and nephews, not siblings, nieces and nephews, and so on. So this is really a very dramatic way of presenting your research. You'll notice some names occupy an entire slice. These are people with no issue. And rather than constrict them to a tiny sector, because they have no issue and nobody will come down here, we just run them right to the edge. It's another example of the clever features we use to make the chart as legible as possible. And again, these can be up to 36 inches or more, 12 generations. They'll be the centerpiece, the hit of your family reunion. Here's another chart that's unique to Charting Companion. It's called the Dandelion. And the purpose is to show extended families. It is a bit unusual. You haven't seen this before. The black and red circles represent families. The red lines link them to the parents, and the black lines link to the children. So you can follow through here. It's a little bit jumbled at first, but it allows you to show the spouses of spouses, the extended family. It's a great way to feel everybody, to include everybody in the family reunion. These can be huge with any number of generations, and you can save them as a PDF and take them to the print shop. Quite extraordinary. Now, here's another chart called the Trellis. And the Trellis, I'm going to show you a bigger example in a second. The Trellis is, again, something you've never seen before. The benefit of the Trellis is that it's the chart with everybody on it. It's the only way of publishing a chart that includes everybody in your database in a way that doesn't have, ugly lines crossing boxes. And again, it takes a bit of getting used to. It's something you've never seen before. But the Trellis is divided, it's a table divided into columns. Everybody in one column is roughly of the same generation. The narrow column on the right indicates a family group. So in this example, Homer Simpson is the father in this family group, Marge is the mother, and Bart is the son, and Lisa and Maggie are the daughters. And over on the left, Homer, he's also the son in this group, with Abraham as the father and Mona as the mother. Now I'm going to show you a real live trellis. This is a trellis of a family. They can get very, very big. And so you can see all the different family groups here. And if you print this, we have the option of rotating it. You can rotate it so that it occupies as little paper as possible. You can have a lot of fun with this. You can, for example, you can right-click on two or more people, trace their ancestors all the way up the line. And if you do that on two or more people, you can collapse it and see their common ancestor. So here we have three cousins, Robert Shriver, Mary Kennedy, Kim Maria Smith. And as you work your way up the line, the first ancestor with three colors, that's their common ancestor. So you could do this on your laptop at a family reunion and have a lot of fun showing people who their common ancestor is. The Trellis, only available with Charting Companion. Another chart we do is the outline descendant. This is a rather popular chart. Everybody has it. It's a classic chart. It's a descendant tree formatted for an 8.5 by 11 page. So you can put it in a book. But what we add to the outline descendant, is that at the top of the chart, you have the option of printing a recap header. Now, I don't know if you've ever, you've probably seen these reports. You go through them, and once you get to page 50 or 75, you've completely lost track of where in the family this page fits. So to help you, we allow you to publish a recap. So starting from the patriarch, starting from the very first person at the top of the tree, we list all the direct line descendants that go right to the person that's at the beginning of this page. So you always keep your bearings. You always know where you are in the family. Here's another very popular chart at a family reunion. It's called the Hourglass. And it consists of a descendant tree on the right and an ancestor tree on the left. And so on the right, at the center would be the common grandparents of the family. On the right are your uncles and aunts, and maybe you and your cousins with pictures. That's over on the right. So everybody gets included. And on the left is an ancestor tree with everybody's common ancestors. So very popular at a family reunion, the Hourglass. You can either do it, tile it on individual pages, or do one single PDF. We also provide you with the ability to embroider your tree on a vest or a t-shirt. You can output your, in this case, a fan chart, you can output the fan chart as a special kind of a file that they use in the embroidery industry. And you go to your local embroidery shop and they'll stitch it for you. It's kind of cool. And then everybody goes around at the family reunion with their particular branch of the tree. Okay, now another feature we have uses a feature called web links. In Family Tree Maker, a web link is kind of like a fact, but it includes the place, if you want, is the URL or the address on the web of where this person is. It points to a page that would contain information that pertains to this person. Like, for example, the battle he fought in, the farm where she grew up, the ship where they crossed the Atlantic on. Now, if you don't use Family Tree Maker, no problem. All you need is to create a user-defined fact called URL. And in the description, as long as it starts with HTTP, Charting Companion will recognize it. Now, what do we do with this, you ask? Well, it's really interesting. Let me find it here. We create a clickable chart. Here we go. So here's an example of a descent. Okay, so I said you could publish our charts as PDFs, JPEGs, PNGs. You can also publish them, most of them, as an HTML page. Now, what happens is, if it's HTML, if you've included a web link, we recognize it and we include it as a hot clickable link. So imagine you've added the URL of the Facebook page of all your millennial nieces and nephews, the ingrates who don't appreciate your work. Well, you now have got a chart and you can click on the link or the icon there, and you can click to every one of your nieces and nephews' Facebook page or anything else. It can be LinkedIn, it can be MySpace, or and so on. That's really cool. So I use it to keep in touch with my Scottish and Australian cousins, whom I've never met, but everybody's got a web page. So it's a great way of keeping track of what's going on. And as a bonus, as a genealogist, you get to find out who's getting married, who's having babies, which is fodder for your database. Great feature. The URL, only available with Charting Companion. Where am I? Here we go. The web link. Okay. Any questions so far?
Not yet.
Not yet? Wow. Everybody understands everything. As I said, it can be, it doesn't have, it's not just living, the Facebook pages of living people, or it could be the Twitter page. You could, if you've developed a website for your ancestor, you can link and point to it. And all the photos are embedded in the HTML document. So you can upload the HTML chart to a website and make it available to everybody, or you could attach it to an email and send it to your relatives. Okay, so that's the genealogy part. I'm sorry, the charts, classic charts. So now I'd like to talk a little bit about how you can combine genealogy and genetics, and you can make the most out of your DNA tests. So those of you who have done DNA tests, you know how it works. You send us a DNA sample, either saliva or a cheek swab. You send that out to a testing company like Ancestry or 23andMe or Family Tree DNA or MyHeritage. And you wait a couple of weeks, and then they do the test. And if you're with Ancestry, what they do is they send you back, they notify you that your tests are now uploaded, you can now log into your Ancestry account, and you can go to a page that lists all your matches, okay? And here are my matches. Here are my first cousins, who I know very well. My second cousins, I know who they are. And here are my third, fourth, and fifth cousins, many of whom I don't know. And you may ask, well, why the heck bother with those people? Well, I'll tell you, I found one of my distant cousins, his family moved to Colorado many generations ago. They just got fed up with the Quebec winters. I'm from Quebec, even though I live in Nova Scotia right now. I grew up in Quebec. My roots are in Quebec. So we got to talking. He was one of those nice people who replies to your email. And it turns out, to my astonishment, I discovered that his branch of the family had inherited a photo album containing photographs of our great-great-great-grandmother that I'd never seen before. I was ecstatic. So, of course, he sent me copies of the photos. And I, in turn, was able to help him with French-Canadian genealogy. I did some translation and gave him some links to some sources. So we benefited each other mutually. So unfortunately, Ancestry doesn't make it easy for you. You have to click on every one of these links one by one to see how much DNA you share, which is not very practical. So we make it easy for you through this simple three-step process. Step one, once you've had your tests done, what you do is you go to the website and you download your raw DNA to your computer. Now, they don't make it easy, but fortunately, we have complete instructions in the help file that comes with Charting Companion. So you download the raw DNA to your computer. Step two, you get yourself a free account at GEDmatch or any one of the other matching services, and you upload your raw DNA to GEDmatch. They will match you to millions of other people who've been tested. And step three, you download the match file to your computer. It's in a CSV format, comma separated value, kind of like a spreadsheet, and it contains a list of all your matches. Then you combine the match file to your genealogy program, either Family Tree Maker, Roots Magic, or Legacy, feed them to Charting Companion, and we create a comprehensive, very enlightening, helpful chart called the DNA matrix. So before we talk about that, I wish I could see your faces and see if anybody's familiar with this chart. But this is a chart that's all over the internet. We didn't create this chart. And it shows how much DNA is shared between two relatives. So, for example, between parents and children, on average, the parent and the child will share 3,487 units of DNA. Although it can vary, it can range between 3,300 and 3,700. Brothers and sisters, it will average 2,600 units of DNA. Again, there's a range. First cousins will average 874, and so on. So you get the idea. The takeaway here is if you tell me how much DNA two people share, I can predict a relationship. So we use that to come up with this chart called the DNA matrix. So let me explain how it works. So the top part you'll recognize as your classic descendant chart. The bottom part is the matrix part. And I apologize for boring you with my relatives, but we got to start somewhere. So there's my grandfather, Alfred, 4 of his daughters, and my cousin Jacques. So we'll take Jacques as an example. Starting with Jacques, if you follow the blue line that snakes underneath the others, wherever Jacques' blue line comes underneath somebody else, it shows how much DNA he shares with that person. So in this case, it's his sister Anne. So Jacques and Anne share 2,986 units according to the DNA tests, which is typical 100% of the time for brother and sister. So by the way, I got all these people tested. Continuing along Jacques' DNA matrix line, under our cousin Jean-Guy, he shares 443 units, which is kind of low for cousins, but it's still possible 1% of the time. Continuing along, Jacques and Louise share 319 units. Now that's too low. It's in red here to indicate that it's an error. There's a 0% probability that two cousins will share as little as 319. So according to the genealogy, they're cousins, but according to the genetics, that's not possible. And it's not just that. Jacques and I are in the red zone. Jacques and Paul, my cousin Paul, are outside the range. And Jacques' sisters, Bernice and Anne, although there's less red, look at the probabilities, 11%, 4%, 2%, consistently very low. How can this be? This chart was based on what my grandmama told me. And it's also based on unimpeachable documents, to wit, this official birth certificate. Well, my friends, I am sad to inform you, it is a hoax. It is a fib. My grandmother schlepped my grandfather down to the registry of births to lie about being Ruby's father. So this is, now, a little bit of story about my grandmother, Connie. She was a feisty Scottish lass. She left the old country at the age of 19, detested her mother, couldn't get along with her family. She got on a ship 3 years ahead of the Titanic, landed in Canada in 1909, alone, unchaperoned. What could go wrong, right? Well, we have strong reason to believe that she met someone, and they had a daughter, Ruby. They had a relationship, they had a daughter, Ruby. 2 years later, she met and married my grandfather, Alfred, and they had more children. Now, if we reconstruct the family tree like that, look at that, all the red is gone. Why? Because now, according to this chart, Ruby is my half-aunt, and her children are my half-cousins. Jacques and I, we still share 371 centimorgans, but because we're half-cousins, it happens 59% of the time. All order is restored. So we've wrested a century-old secret from the grave, thanks to genetics and Charting Companion. That's pretty cool. Now, I never miss a chance to emphasize how much I respect my grandmother, Connie, and I'm grateful to her, and I have nothing but affection for her. Because if she'd done anything different, I surely wouldn't be here tonight.
That's awesome story, Pierre. I'm sorry to interrupt you. There is a couple questions about GEDmatch. Is GEDmatch a requirement?
Well, there are other places. You can also do your matching at 23andMe or Family Tree DNA. Mm-hmm. But GEDmatch casts a broader net. You want to do, actually, let me, thank you for that question. You want to do it in as many places as possible. Charting Companion will read, I should killing myself for not saying this. Charting Companion reads over 33 different matching file formats. We will accept file formats from Ancestry, from they don't do that, from 23andMe and all the other matching services. So it doesn't have to be GEDmatch. I'm just using it as an example, but we will handle matching from any matching service.
Awesome, thank you.
You had another question?
There are a couple of other questions in here.
I'll be happy.
One I'm seeing, does this work with Herodis? I think I'm pronouncing correctly.
With Herodis, you're going to need to do a GEDCOM export. You would export your data out of Herodis into GEDCOM, and we would read the GEDCOM for the file.
Great.
We'd like to do Herodis, but we need their file format. We need them to tell us what their file format is.
Great. Yeah.
Any other question?
Can it read GDAT, so the genealogical data analysis tool?
That one is a new one. I must admit, I'm not familiar with that. If you send me a copy of the file, we can figure out that. I must say, we have not tackled that one yet. But if you send me a copy of the file, we can program it.
Okay. So I see more questions coming in. Some of them, if I test with both Ancestry and 23andMe, would I download both to GEDmatch? I guess that's
yes. You could upload both of them to GEDmatch. Yes, GEDmatch will accept both of them. That's right. Yeah. And we could do a DNA matrix, and we can process multiple of these match files at the same time. Multiple match files. Yeah.
Cool. So there are more questions in here, but I'm going to let you carry on.
Okay.
And we'll
Now,
come back to them, I promise.
okay, good, good. So we published, there's an amazing Facebook group called Genetic Genealogy Tips and Techniques, run by Blaine Bettinger, an expert in the field. So if you're interested, I recommend the group. They will be very happy to entertain any questions, and there's lots to learn by reading through the traffic. My customers have published their DNA matrices on the Genetic Genealogy Tips and Techniques, and I got a very good response. By the way, we have an anonymizer option on the DNA matrix. If you check the anonymize box, we publish the chart with only initials, no names. So you can then show that chart in public and not have to worry about privatization, because it's just initials. People can talk about the chart without caring who the people are. I'll show you another example. Oh, by the way, I'll never mean to imply you have skeletons like this in your closet. It's just really nice to be able to corroborate the genealogy and the genetics. Here's another amazing example of the DNA matrix. I have a customer in Minnesota who did this humongous matrix chart, and his research led to two men living in the early 1800s, Peter and George Anger. And my customer could not find any evidence, any paper proof that they were brothers. No census, birth, marriage, nothing. But he had good reason to believe. So what he did is he documented the descendant tree, contacted the living descendants. He did a whole bunch of DNA tests, and he did a DNA matrix, and to his amazement, to his delight, there was no red flags in the DNA matrix. It's all copacetic, all completely consistent with the genealogies, consistent with the genetics. There's one little red flag here, probably due to either a non-paternal event, you all know what that is, or an error in the genealogy. So that's another example of what you can use the DNA matrix for. You can prove, knock down brick walls that you'd otherwise never have any hope of going beyond. So now, it's not there's like a Ginsu knife commercial. You get the DNA matrix. You also get another with Charting Companion, another great feature called the DNA simulation. And what this is used for is that oftentimes, probably some of you have had this experience, the purpose of genetic testing is to help an orphan or an adoptee find his or her biological family. So you may have been on the receiving end of an inquiry from a complete stranger who shares an astonishing amount of DNA with your family. This would have been out of wedlock birth, swept under the covers, adopted, and the poor individual has no idea who the biological family is. Or you yourself may be an orphan or an adoptee, and you've found pay dirt, you've found a group of strangers who share your DNA. So now the question is, where do you fit in the family? Well, we come to your assistance with the DNA simulation. What the DNA simulation is, it's a process whereby on your desktop, Charting Companion will try to find, by trial and error, will try to find where that orphan belongs in the family. And what we do, what Charting Companion does, is all you have to do is add that person in your database, in your genealogy database. You don't have to connect them to anybody. Point to that orphan, and Charting Companion will start building make-believe trees. Charting Companion will start building hypothetical trees where the orphan is temporarily added as a son or a daughter. And based on that hypothetical tree, Charting Companion then calculates the DNA matrix resulting from that make-believe hypothetical tree. If there are any red flags, as I showed you previously, we discard the tree. But if, on the other hand, this placement of this orphan results in a tree that could be feasible, we grab a screenshot, we save it for you to examine later. And then we move the individual to everyone in your family tree one by one, calculating a DNA matrix every time and saving all the ones that make sense. So here's that purple person here. You can see in this case, we have 9 scenarios, places where the person could fit. So what you do with those, and then you examine them, And we can do in minutes what would take hours or weeks to do by hand. People do these DNA, these trees by hand, and they sit there and they calculate the probability. And we can do it in minutes, saving you hours of work. And we're very thorough. Charting Companion even inserts hypothetical mistresses, if you want, or people, because sometimes these are out of wedlock relationships. So they're a result of people you don't even know exist, they don't even have in your tree. So we insert a hypothetical mistress, and we will see if the orphan fits there. And if it fits, we let you know, hey, Grandpa Joe could have had an adventure that would have resulted in this person. So you get to look at that, and we can do that for many generations. And we provide you with a whole collection of these hypothetical trees, the simulation, DNA simulation, very, very powerful way of discovering all these secret, helping people find their family trees. Now, there's one more feature here that I would be remiss if I did not show you, and I better bring this up here. Didn't realize we'd get this far ahead, so. Okay, I've got my timer going here. Here we go, 31 minutes. Whoops, sorry. I've got another feature, and it again goes to these matches. Sorry here, it's an image. Just bear with me here. Here we go, there it is. So this is a third feature of the Ginsu knife collection. Any questions on the DNA simulation?
There are definitely questions.
Well, let's tackle them. Let's go ahead.
All right. Yeah, we have plenty of time. Okay, let's see here. Would you mind explaining the uploading from GEDmatch to Charting Companion in a little bit more detail?
Oh, yes, sure. Love to. So I went over this a little bit quickly here. You're referring to this. So, okay, are you with me up to the point where you've got your raw DNA on your desk, on your computer? Is that okay up to there?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay. Yeah. So GEDmatch is a separate service. They provide free accounts. You can log in. It's gedmatch.com, and you can log in there. You can get a free account, and once you get your free account and log in, there'll be a button there that says upload my DNA. So you click on the button, and you would then browse to wherever you stored your raw DNA that you downloaded. Okay, so you click on that, and GEDmatch's website, once you've clicked on it, will upload it to the GEDmatch website. They then spend 24 hours comparing your DNA to millions of other people. Now, if you're interested in this, I can elaborate on that a little bit. As you know, when you're born, you inherit some DNA from your father and some DNA from your mother, and they in turn inherited it from their parents. So you inherit a little bit from your grandfather, from each grandfather, and a little bit from each grandmother. Now, the further down in time, the more and more generations you go, the more this DNA gets scrambled. But within 4, 5, or 6 generations, there's still whole chunks of DNA that are reproduced verbatim, whole as bolus. So you wind up with significant amounts of DNA. I didn't talk about DNA. I assume you're all familiar with the helix, the ladder-shaped DNA. We have 23 chromosomes. Each chromosome is a long molecule made with individual nucleotides or base pairs. I can talk about that if you want. But there's whole sequences. So the DNA is used to build your body, to construct a protein that makes your body. There's whole sequences of those that are identical. So what GEDmatch does is they have an algorithm, and they will go and look at pieces of everybody's DNA, and they have a pattern matching algorithm. And when they find a segment that is significantly long, they'll say, all right, you have common ancestors with this other person. So they'll go through, and they can sometimes find thousands of people who have the same DNA that you do, or share, not the same, share parts of the DNA, which therefore indicates you have the same common in the ancestor. So that's how they do that. And once they've identified these people, they send them to you in the format of a match file. Now, I can show you what that match file looks like if you're curious here. Boy, I wish I'd been. Here we go.
The person who asked that question is up to this point. They've like already uploaded to GEDmatch and they have Charting Companions. They're at the point where you're about to explain.
Okay, so what happens then, what you need to do is so GEDmatch, they need 24 hours to do this. 24 hours after you've uploaded your DNA, you log in back into your GEDmatch account, and there will be a series of kits and files ready for you to download. They change their website every month, so it's hard to document, but you need to locate the place where they say download the match file. Everybody's assigned a kit number, so you would click on that button, and they would, GEDmatch, it's a bit of a pain. They don't download a file. I'm cheating a little bit here. What you need to do is they show you a page with all the matches and the DNA. What you have to do is hit Control-A to select the entire web page, and then Control-C to copy the information. And then you go over to a spreadsheet like Excel, and you do Control-V to paste the entire spreadsheet into your Excel. Then you save it as a CSV file, and that is the file that Charting Companion will read. I'm sorry, that's a little bit brief. We have detailed instructions on how to do that in the help file of Charting Companion. But to review once again, go to GEDmatch, click on the button that shows you the matches for a particular kit. Control-A to select everything, Control-C to copy, and then over to your spreadsheet program, Control-V to paste everything. Does that help?
It does help. I am going to put a link to that page on your website that has some of those like really in detailed instructions in the chat.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, there are several.
Fire away.
Yeah. So if you have a high match for first cousin, but most of your quote unquote real cousins haven't been tested, how do you do the simulation, and what are the ethics to consider?
Yeah, that's going to be tricky. The more people you have, the more successful the simulation will be. It can work with very few people, but now you mean ethics in terms of the adoptee, the orphan?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, if the orphan is coming to you voluntarily, that's going to raise some problems. Some people are not going to be comfortable with the discovery of some heretofore unsuspected relationships. Life is life, I mean, in my family, we all got a big chuckle over it. We all got a big chuckle. But of course, not everybody's the same. That's going to depend on each individual person and their knowledge of their family, and they're going to have to talk about it with their family. Yeah, this is very true. An orphan, you're torn between the orphan wants to know the biological family, but the rest of your cousins don't want to know that Grandpa George was unfaithful. That's a difficult question. That is way beyond my...
That's, I think, from my kind of experience, read the room and just tread lightly. Yeah, for sure.
It is what it is. You can't suppress the fact. And again, well, I can't speak for other families. Matter of fact, one of my cousins that refused to participate in the study. His name was Andre. He refused to participate. So I assumed it was because his nose was out of joint, because we discovered this irregularity in his paternity. So a few months later, I traveled to Quebec. We had a family reunion, and over a couple of beers, I said, Adriano, come on, what's the deal? And he told me that he wasn't upset about that. It's that as a young man, he had been quite busy on the dating scene, and he did not want at his age to be confronted with a paternity, some offspring. So I said, oh yeah, okay, I understand. Now the joke's on him because his siblings let the cat out of the bag. So, but anyway, that's the kind of situation you're in. Any more? Next question.
Okay, there are a couple questions that are very similar, so I'm going to group them together.
Sure.
A couple people were wondering, why do I need to do GEDmatch if Ancestry shows me matches or 23andMe shows me matches? How is this different?
Exactly.
I think they need an explanation.
Excellent question. Thank you for the question. With Ancestry, all you get is you got to click on each of these people one at a time, and you have to build your own match file one by one. I've had people do it. We also, in addition to all the 33 different formats, we support your own user-defined homegrown match file. So I've had customers who've had to click on every one of these names one by one. What you do is you invent a code. You assign some arbitrary match code to, I glossed over it, but the way it works is in your genealogy program, you have to create in Family Tree Maker, you add a DNA matching fact to the person. And in the description field, you put the person's kit number, which is assigned by GEDmatch. You can make up your own kit numbers. So if you're you with Ancestry, you got to sit there and you got to copy and paste one by one, dozens and dozens of DNA matches. So you can do that if you want, but it's tedious. And the advantage of going with GEDmatch is that you will get a whole bunch of people who tested with other companies. GEDmatch uploads Ancestry, Family Tree, 23andMe, Family Tree DNA, and so on. So you get a wider pool of people. So really, it's the best is to have both of them. There'll be people at Ancestry that didn't go to GEDmatch, and there'll be people at GEDmatch that didn't go to Ancestry. So by doing both, you get the best of both worlds. So again, if you only do it with 23andMe, you're missing out on the GEDmatch people. So it's just a question of how wide you want to cast the net. Does that help at all?
Yeah, I think, yeah, it does. Okay. Okay, I'm just trying to go through some of these. When you say raw DNA, what exactly do you mean? How do you do that?
Okay.
That was one question.
Yeah, the raw DNA, well, that's when you send your DNA up for testing. The testing service, 23andMe, Family Tree DNA, they only test a small part of your DNA. It's like 0.1%. And what it is, I can show you a file. Let me just show you what the file looks like. It's basically 700,000 lines of A, T, C's, and G's. It says for every position on the chromosome, it says what you've got. Do you have an A, a T, a C, or a G? I can show you what one of these looks like. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, here we are. So here's another chart. So this is my DNA. I can do this presentation. This is what a raw DNA file looks like, okay? There's an official international genetic science designation code, and then you've got TTs and GGs and so on. So it's a list of a subset, a small part of your DNA, and what is as you can imagine, every chromosome has been officially identified and numbered by the science community. And we all have the same basic numbering scheme, and this is what you have at that position. That's what makes you unique. In GEDmatch, what GEDmatch looks like, this is a GEDmatch CSV file. Here's a line like right there, and it contains the kit. There are 2 people per row, 2 persons for each row. It contains the kit number of the first person and their name, kit number of the second person and his or her name, the chromosome number where you share data, and what length of data do you share, you see? So this is what a CSV match file looks like. Just lines and lines and lines. So, okay, so the raw DNA is that like a microscopic screen grab or screenshot of your DNA. You don't have to worry. You don't have to look at it. Just a big spreadsheet. It just, all you know is you're entitled to it. It's your property. Does that help at all?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm going over a lot of material in a very short time here. I apologize.
It's okay. Any DNA program is always like this, regardless if it's just like just regular DNA or something really cool like Charting Companion. Somebody was asking if you've done Ancestry, 23andMe, Family Tree DNA, GEDmatch, all the things, do you put all of that data into Charting Companion, or do you just pick a couple?
You could put all the data in, everything, throw it all in. We can handle unlimited number of CSV match files. And everybody, okay, so I glossed over this a little bit quickly, but as I may have explained there, every person in your database that's been tested will get a special fact with their kit number. And if a person has been tested multiple times with multiple different companies, you give that person a different kit number for every place they've been tested. You only have to do that once. So a person can have one or many kit numbers in your Roots Magic or Family Tree Maker database, and you can feed multiple match files to Charting Companion, a whole bunch of them. I guess I should give you a look at what that looks like here. Let me just, okay, this is how you launch Charting Companion from Family Tree Maker. It's tools, plugins, and here we go. And I'm going to go to my grandmother here. Charts and reports, descendant chart. Here's the DNA matrix. Oh, good. So here's the DNA matrix, and here's a list of all the match files that I have. So I'm going to click on this button, and I'm going to select everybody like that. So I've had multiple match files for each one of my cousins. I'm going to uncheck these two files because they don't apply. They're customer files. All right. So here are some of the options you have on the DNA matrix. Here's a nice option. If your tree is really big, you can choose to limit it to only the people who've been tested. And a bunch of stuff here. All right, let me try this. So then you can click on preview. And any minute now, there's the woman who ran away from Scotland at the age of 19. There we go. And there's the DNA matrix, just like that. And you got some really nice features. As you hover over every intersection, you can see all the chromosomes they share in common. See that?
Mm-hmm.
Like that. This is the live version. And you can do some neat stuff. Now, what was my point here? I was going to show you, what was the question? Oh, yeah. So as you can see there, I had like 8 different match files. And you can do stuff like if you hold down the control key and you click on multiple people at the same time, you can show all the DNA they have in common. And look at that. This is astonishing. I've got 6 cousins out of 10. And out of those 6 cousins, they only have 2 segments of chromosome in common. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So
wow.
the point here is that your grandparents' chromosomes were scattered over a whole range of cousins. So so we display any number of combination of testing companies.
Cool.
Services.
Yeah.
How are we doing for time?
We have about 10 minutes left.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
If there are no other questions, I got another neat feature, or we can tackle some questions.
Have you shown us the neat feature? Because it might actually answer some of the questions that are in here.
Okay, this has to do with organizing your matches.
Yes.
It can be very frustrating. I have a little joke, which is not popular with physicians. Some of you have probably had the experience where you email these distant relatives and you don't hear anything back. Well, I suggest what you do is you tell them you're the family historian and you've discovered a horrible genetic disease in the family. And would they please get in touch with you? And then when they get back to you, you say, oh, well, okay, you're in the right branch, you escaped it. Or what's more respectable is you can offer to build that person's family tree for them. Because a lot of times these people are amateurs or dilettantes. They're not really into genealogy, and you need their information and you're gonna have to build their family tree. Okay, so the question now is, how do you sort through these possibly hundreds of matches? Who do you tackle first? Well, through Charting Companion's DNA matches feature, we group the distant matches into clusters. So on the left row here, those are people in my family tree. These are people, I know who they are, they're my cousins. I've changed the names here to protect the innocent, but there are 4 family groups here: Hourglass, Poindexter, Ritter, and Mauclair. Those are my cousins. The top row in yellow, these are my distant relatives. They're people who share DNA with me, but I have no idea where they fit in the family tree. So my dilemma here, my challenge is, let's say I'm going after that mystery man, Ruby's mystery father there, Connie's first relationship in the New World. And I'm focused, I want to do research on that individual. Well, columns D through O here, you'll notice, by the way, at the intersection of the rows and columns is the amount of DNA that they share. So columns D through O, you'll notice that they share DNA with, some of them with the Hourglass, the Poindexters, and the Ritters. Well, that's all over on my maternal grandmother's side. I've got that side pretty well documented. I'm not really interested in that. But notice the P column here. This individual only shares DNA with the Hourglass, which is a pseudonym for the Charlevoix, which is the mystery branch. And they don't share any DNA with the others. So, and it's same with the column W, Y, and ABAC. All these people strictly Hourglass. So they're more likely to share DNA on the father's side, on the mystery grandfather's side. So guess who I'm going to email first? I'm going straight for columns P, W, Y, and ABAC. Go for the pager. These are the people most likely to have unlocked the secret of the mystery father. So the matches is a convenient way of grouping and letting you focus your research, make the best use of your time, and go for the jugular. So there you go. That is Charting Companion in a nutshell.
Cool. There are a couple questions about Charting Companion. It's a plugin that you use with things like Family Tree Maker, correct?
It's a plugin for Family Tree Maker, but it's a standalone program for the other genealogy software. It runs, it's not a plugin. The other programs don't have plugins. So Charting Companion, you start it on its own, and then you tell it file open, and you browse to the Roots Magic file or the Legacy file or the GEDCOM file.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so you, for the standalone thing, you just upload that file and do all the wonderful, colorful charts and all the good stuff.
Yeah.
But for Family Tree Maker, it's a plugin.
That's right. You say file open the classic way, and you've got a bunch of files here that you can, as a Roots Magic file, bingo.
Does it work with Windows 11?
Yes. Yeah. And the Mac.
Can you do sample simulations with Charting Companion? Is that
sample? How would that be different from the regular simulation?
I don't know. That was the question asked.
You could,
I mean, you could do it and just like get rid of it if you don't like it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you could make a copy of your tree and then cut it, prune it, you know, or extract only a subset, and you could do a simulation on just the subset, you know. Yeah, and like I say, even if you have only 2 or 3 people that have been tested, it'll still work. The more the merrier, but.
Great. Another person asked, so for the Family Tree Maker plugin, they have 2019. Do they need to purchase a newer version or an
No,
update?
it works with any version of 2019.
Okay. We have about 5 minutes left. Would you have time to show us how to do the DNA matrix of the McGuire chart with, they say, ancestry results in order to include relatives who won't transfer elsewhere?
With Ancestry?
Yeah, but can Ancestry not?
Yes.
Is that the one that doesn't?
What you would have to do, so remember, you have to download from Ancestry. So in the Ancestry cloud, you would assign a DNA marker event to your relatives that have been tested. So you add them to Ancestry data. Then from Ancestry, you would download your data. You want me to show you how to?
Yes, that would be awesome.
Okay, let me see if I can remember how to do that. Okay, so I got to log into my account. Ancestry, here we go. All right. Now, they change the rules every month. But I'll see if I can figure out. They don't make it easy because they don't want you to do that. They're a little bit uncooperative. Okay, so you go to DNA, click on DNA. Then you go to settings. They really hide it. They don't make it easy. Then you scroll down, way down at the bottom here, actions. Download DNA data. See how they bury it? They really don't want you to do this. It's like you got to fight tooth and nail. So you click on download. Then you've got to enter your password again. Then you got to say, yeah, I know. I understand my DNA download. They're not be protected, yada, yada, you know. So once you've done that, you could enter your password again, check mark that, and you say confirm. And then I think almost there. Please check your inbox for email from us. Then follow the instructions to begin your download. So then they're going to send you a link. This is the DNA we're talking about here. Oh, sorry. Did you want your, no, you know how to download the GEDCOM. We're just doing the DNA.
Yeah, okay. Just the DNA. Yeah.
Now I have a very complicated 3-step email process. So I'm going to go right to my email here. I use Spamrest to. So actually, it could take a few minutes. But anyway, you get the idea.
You get an email and it says download zip file here. You download it. That's how that works to save everyone some time.
Yeah. So that's how you do it with that. So pretty sneaky, eh? They don't want you to do it. They tell you. They make it as hard as possible for you. So that's,
yes, one person said that they tried doing that and they never received an email, so they gave up. Check your spam. It sometimes takes them a while to actually send that email. And if you use like Yahoo, it depends on what email service you use. I've noticed that it can be slower with some email than others. I don't know why. They don't make it easy.
They don't make it easy, no. Okay, so I have a 3-step process. Let me go to my second stage. Sorry. This is stage 1.
So can I just explain that this does not download your matches. This is the data. That's
right. That's the raw DNA. Yes, thank you. Yeah. That's the raw DNA. This is, let me show you here. Where's my God. This is the first part. What I just did there, what I just showed you how to do, is the first part, the raw DNA. And 23andMe and Family Tree DNA and MyHeritage, they also have the same concept, totally different instructions, but the same idea. Yeah. Nothing yet. Let me go to my check from in. Nothing yet. Unverified. It could take them a few minutes to. This is all my garbage, all the garbage I get. The thing I like about spam arrest is that they give you a chance to get through if you're a real person. With spam arrest, if I always try to pre-clear my correspondence. I always try to authorize you. But if you're a complete stranger, you try to email me, and I've never heard of you before, you get a challenge email. All you got to do is say, yeah, I'm a human, and the email gets through. That's very simple. And you only have to do that once. So I like...
Somebody, since we're just about out of time, if any of you have just like DNA questions in general, feel free to send us an email. Our email is genealogy@acpl.info, which I'm going to put that in the chat. Also, if you like a copy of the chat for tonight, send us an email for that as well.
Yeah, and sorry, Elizabeth, also, if you want to contact me directly, go to our website, progeny.genealogy.com, and under customer support, click contact us. And you can send a question there as well.
Customer support. I'm going to put
very, very happy to talk to you.
I'm going to put a link in the chat. Yeah. Great. Okay. Final question.
Yes.
I had it and then I lost it. I lost it in the Q&A. The question was something along the lines of, where do you purchase it? And is there a trial version?
Yes, there is. Thank you for the question. You go to our website, progeny.genealogy.com, or the shortcut is pginc.ca. And you go to products, family tree charts, and just click. There's a free trial, 15-day trial. So you can download the free trial and try it out. The only restriction is there's a watermark on the charts, and it lasts 15 days.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Pierre, for such wonderful information. There's, a lot of questions that I think that people will probably reach out to you with through the contact page or reach out to us. But thank you again for joining us.
It's a pleasure. I want to say, no pandering intended. You have a very alert, intelligent, knowledgeable group. So it's a pleasure to have such questions.
Great.
Very knowledgeable.
Well, like I said, everybody, if you would like a copy of the chat, send us an email. If you would like questions for us, send us an email. And I hope all of you enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thanks very much. It's been a pleasure meeting you all.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye. Oh, I got to stop the chart. Okay.